Welcome. Today, I would like you to focus on your past for a little while. It's important how we see our path so far to be sure that we know where to go next. And on many occasions, we may feel like the past has not been fully digested, that we still feel some of its elements affecting our daily life. So, let's begin by settling down and coming back to your breath. You may feel a little bit out of balance because of some current issues passing through your mind. Take a slow, deep breath in and let go with an exhale. Another deep inhale. And exhale whatever needs to go. Now take a longer inhalation and pause for 2, 3, and release fully. You are here in this unique moment of your life. It will never be repeated. You only have one chance and one decision about how you're going to use your time. And this is the case day after day. You may not think about it this way, but some things are true. What happens now will never come back, and it's up to you to decide how you wish to spend this very moment. But don't take it as a responsibility. It often can add pressure to achieve maximum day by day, to push your daily to-do list up the limit. It doesn't need to be this way. The way your life has been thus far was not always the way you planned, wasn't it? Greatest memories were not only the ones that you knew that would happen, right? But somehow you may feel the pressure of attaining your current goals. The ones connected to your place on the life spectrum. You think it might have been the time to pass to another stage. But before you stress out, let's hold on and have a look at the path you already walked. So I will invite you to close your eyes and connect to yourself. You are unique. You are a sum of many elements that made you who you are today. Some experiences made you weaker or unsure about yourself, but some others gave you the necessary push for making the right decisions in your life. Let's begin by memorizing some stories you heard about your birth. Do you know what was the environment of your mother when she was pregnant? Do you know who was around her? Did you ever talk with her about this period? Did she ever tell you about your birth? Was it a smooth beginning for you? Or was this a rather challenging time for her? Now, connect with your first memories on this planet. At this point, it was vital for you to develop trust. You aimed to survive and feel safe. Did you feel protected? You may not consciously know this, but try to connect with your body now. Do you remember being held and taken care of? Or when I ask you about this, does your body react with some tension? Was it easy to get your carer's attention? Now, try to connect with your first memory. It is usually around the age of 2 or 3. Your developmental goal at this point in life is to develop a sense of autonomy. If this crisis is not solved, you create a sense of guilt. Is your first memory connected with these subjects? Was your environment supportive enough for you to develop the skills of autonomy and independence? How about your early childhood, when you were 3, 4, 5 years old? Maybe you saw some photos of you at this period. Did you hear some stories about some funny situations? Were you a child who explored its environment with curiosity? Were you full of this energy to be active and had drive for initiating new behaviors? Or were you rather a child who felt guilty of doing too much? How was this for you? Now Let's move to the beginning of school. It is often a very stressful period. For many, the first time to be without parents. Was this the case for you? Do you remember the emotions from your first day at school? Did you feel able to be there and face all the novelty of this situation? Or instead, needing more support that you didn't have around? How was school for you? Moving on to the period of adolescence, linked with hormonal disbalances and puberty, it is often a period linked with a lot of confusion. Do you remember how you noticed your body changing? What were your first reactions? Were you ready for this step from childhood into becoming a separate self? Did you have a lot of questions at that point? Did you need some social relations to assure your sense of being a separate self? What did you identify with? Were you part of a group? Did you share some interest? Did you identify with some subculture or some music fans, or maybe played some instrument or sport that differentiated you and made you stand out? Think about this teenager you were. Connect with her. What was going through her mind usually? Was she asking herself many questions about who she was? Did she try to become emotionally independent? Was she worried about her roles in various relationships? At the end of this period, was she able to form real friendships? Did she gain clarity about her roles in a social context? Or was it somewhat confusing? What was your relation with your parents at that time? Were they there, both of them? Could you ask for advice when you needed? Did you have a person of trust around you? Moving on to your 20s. The essential goal here is to create intimacy, an honest relationship. Once you know who you are in the social context, it's also easier to define what you need in the relationship. Do you know what you need from another person? Is creating this intimacy easy for you? Can you identify what you can give? Think about your first intimate relationship. Was it comfortable for you to trust? Or you stayed somewhat isolated? Was it joyful for you to share some experiences with a partner? Or did someone abuse this trust that you gave them? Did something happen not the way you expected? Did you feel hurt by someone? How does it feel now? Now, let's move on to another transition period between the 20s and 30s. It's usually the time when people evaluate some first accomplishments and decide what shall be the next step, whether identifying with roles at work or social life. If one of these is clearer and more comfortable to put the energy in, then this element of life will be reinforced in the upcoming few years. It is also the time of adjustment of the life adopted in the early 20s. The process of reformatting the self and discovering what hides behind and motivates our actions. That's often when we no longer want to depend on others, whether it is the parents or partners. It's also often the time when we sense the pressure to choose a life partner and establish a family. And when no one is there to share this with us, we jump into the career roles and set higher goals to achieve and concentrate on. Maybe you're at this point of life now. Reflect on which part is or was the most driving force for you at this stage. Was it rather the role of an employee? Or is your attention drifting towards finding the life partner and establishing a family? The next period, till the end of the 30s, it's all about the confirmation. When you establish a career, you want to make sure it is aligned with your values. When you engage in professional goals, you make firm commitments, and it is crucial for you to be seen as an expert in what you do. You wish to maintain your standard of living, and some external civic and social responsibilities start to play a more important role. Now, let's move to the 40s. At this transition, there is a conflict to solve between generativity and stagnation. Those two elements are crucial to your attention: work and parenthood. You spend time reviewing your life structure adopted in the 30s, realize some things that will not be achieved because of some external limits, and then decide to focus on creating some positive changes that will not only benefit you but also be bigger than yourself. This is often the moment of a more prominent reflection of the choice of spouse and commitment to spend the rest of the adult life with this person, sometimes resulting in a change of the partner. If career was earlier the predominant sphere, the parenthood now takes over, and the generativity versus stagnation touches this subject too. Let's stop here. I know that some elements of this journey were not easy, especially the ones that happened unplanned or did not depend on you. Some situations that others created, or things that people did or say, that they are still impacting you today. Remember today that you've achieved more than you think. You solved many developmental crises on the way, and maybe the place you are in at the moment is simply the next transition point where you need some more time and reflection. But it is a good thing. Being mindful is essential. It goes hand in hand with regulation, because without becoming mindful of what is and how it is, it would be difficult for you to identify what it is that you need to regulate and change. So, here is the last question for today, and please give it some time. And the question is, what do you want now? Is there something still not resolved from the past? And how can you give it to yourself now so that you feel the way you wanted to at that point in your life? And remember one last thing that Nelson Mandela said: may your choices reflect your hopes, not your fears. I hope this journey was helpful and gave you some insight.